You know what we should do? Throw a party.
No.
Where? Everyone's home. Parents too.
There was an outbreak on campus.
What other buildings are empty because of COVID?
Schools?
Yeah, but schools have like maintenance men there.
No, they don't. At least not ours. They shut it down.
It's so quiet.
You know what really upsets me? We never got into Theodore Roosevelt, who, in my opinion, was the greatest president. And I quote, "The fool who has not sense to discriminate between what is good and what is bad is well nigh as dangerous as the man who does discriminate and yet chooses the bad."
His wife left him. I guess he's got rage issues.
There it is. The dude's a psycho. Mystery solved.
You know, if you get back to school, I might just lie and say you touched me if he makes you feel uncomfortable.
He's just sad.
We're all good guys.
Dude, we're not playing anymore.
Your faces. Oh, you guys are idiots. I'm kidding. It's a joke. I'm not mad.
All right, guys, this one is a special one. Episode 39. I have a very, very awesome guest on tonight. He's directed Clear Shot back in 2019, which I actually had no idea about, and I did some research on that, and we'll talk about that as well. It's a true story based on true events. His film One and the Same is out right now, and the one I'm excited about is Pacerville. This film starring Brian Austin Green. It's coming soon, and one of the main reasons I reached out to this man to discuss this film from its inception till its current state. The one and only Nick Leisure. Thanks for joining.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. Thank you. So real quick, I had to ask about this. I did some research on A Clear Shot, and you were actually around the real events, apparently.
Yeah, so Clear Shot was based off of the 1991 Good Guys hostage situation back where it was called Florin Mall back then. On
Right.
Road. And so I lived in the South area at that time and went to junior high school and stuff out there. And a friend of mine lived down the street. And, you know, Florin Mall back then was a spot that you hung out when you were a teenager. So that was where you would just go and walk around the mall, even if you didn't have money, just to talk to girls or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, we hung out over there, and then we saw that this was happening like on the news. And then we were like, hey, that's right down the street. Let's go check it out. So,
Damn. That's crazy, man. And this was apparently the biggest heist in history, U.S. history?
Yeah, biggest hostage situation in U.S. history.
Damn, man.
Mhm.
In 91, I wasn't here yet. I wasn't living in Sacktown yet, but I wasn't even living in America yet. I was a little kid, but
Where are you from?
I was born in Iran, and I moved out of Iran at the age of 8, which would have been 95. So I left Iran and never been back. I'd like to go back one day, once shit clears up over there. But you know, it's just it's interesting to me though that, you know, from that incident that you witnessed, were essentially an eyewitness to, and then you grow up and you become a director. And what age did you decide, I think I want to make films and direct films?
Well, I started in the music industry when I was a teenager. Fortunately, had a mentor who was already big in the industry, and I think it was around the age of 20, 21 that I decided I want to get into films and really, focus on films. But I didn't want to be a director at first. I wanted to be an actor. So I took acting classes for a couple years and took some Shakespeare classes and started booking, local gigs out of Sacramento that I could for, River Cats and Sacramento Kings, things like that, and just to get paid and start getting some networking going and get my feet wet, you know what I mean? And so, and then, I was getting ready to figure out making that trip down to LA like most actors do, but I didn't want to be that struggling actor. I was working in LA and, being a waiter during the day and trying to figure out the acting thing. So I figured I might as well learn something, have a trade that has to do with the business at least. And I started, I picked up a camera and started shooting and took all the money that I had to try to buy cameras and started shooting stuff. And, fortunately I came from the music industry and was surrounded by, 90% of my friends were in the music industry at the time. So I started shooting a lot of stuff that had to do with music, live concerts, which turned into bigger artists going on tour with bigger artists, and music videos, and over the years, and that turned into major artists, from rappers to like Too Short up to R&B singers, After Seven, Babyface, stuff like that. So it just kind of evolved. It's one of those things. The more you do it, the more you evolve. Did a bunch of commercials, short films, anything that had to do with being either in front of or behind the camera, and took a bunch of internships with other bigger filmmakers at the time, and just tried to soak up as much as I could, and probably spent all my money at Barnes and Noble on every filmmaking book I could find. So,
that's cool, man. No, I think the key there is that you went for it, and if there's a lesson there for other aspiring actors, directors, just artists, is because I'm 35 now myself, and
you're a baby, man.
I'm a baby. Yeah. That's good. I need to hear that I'm a baby so that I feel good about continuing to pursue. No, it's what age did you say you actually, like, was it in college, after college, that you just went for
Well,
it?
it was around the time when I was in college and just trying to figure out like what I really wanted to do. So just, transitioning into shooting and stuff like that. And then I worked on a lot of productions as a grip and lighting and everything that I possibly could, whether it was carrying somebody's bags or setting stuff up and trying to sneak my way on the set as an actor or an extra or anything like that. So but it it just built from there, and got really heavy into like music videos for a while and commercial content stuff, which kept me busy, and it just snowballed from there. And then I spent a big part of my career, I had studios in San Francisco, Sacramento, Santa Monica, downtown LA. I've had different studios in different places, and even in Mexico more recently. But over the years, just, I spent a lot of time focused on anything production wise, whether it was corporate stuff, commercial work, things like that. And then it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I decided I was going to only focus on featured films, like 99.9% of the time.
That's cool, man. I mean, it's I think you find your lane, or you find where you want to specialize in by just doing it, like we said, right? I'm sure you still love music, and you still probably do that for fun, or maybe even major productions. But film and acting, man, it's always been a big interest of mine, and I didn't really pursue it seriously, and specifically comedic improv and acting is in I've always been a goofball, but I never really took it seriously, ironically, because you can't take yourself seriously as a comic. But it was just, I'm starting to do that now. And
Tough, man. So you doing stand-up comedy?
I'm working on going on stage soon. I've been doing a lot of content creation on just online, TikTok, Instagram, the posting my shenanigans on there. I signed up actually with Second City, and I've been working on writing actually. So just trying to fine tune that. My biggest thing was always up here, right? The real estate between my ears. It was I think for the longest time I was living the way others anticipated that I'd live, So and I never thought I'm like too old. I never think that way. I think I have to pursue what I love, because I think when we don't pursue what we're put on this earth for, then really
Find your purpose.
It's purpose, and you got to pursue that, because it's what fuels my soul, and I think many would agree that are in that.
I said that a long time ago when I first started, man. As everybody tried to persuade me to, get a job at the post office or do something else, and you hear everything from the family and other people around you. How many people make it in the entertainment business? And so for me, but I would have rather have gotten old and tried and failed at it than to get old and say, "Damn, I wonder what would have happened if I really would have pursued that."
That's exactly what I told my wife. I was like, "Listen, you don't want to be married to me in 10 years, and I didn't try this, and then I'm just a miserable dude. You're going to leave anyway." So, but anyway, yeah, I'm going for it, man. Anyway, it's not about me. It's about this film, Pacerville. I want to hear about this film. I saw the preview, and it looks amazing. Brian Austin Green does a great job in his role. But tell the audience about how you learned about it. How did you write the film from beginning, or how did it all go?
I have a writing partner that I work with. I came up with the idea, and the idea stemmed from actually me sitting in a meeting with another close friend of mine who's a principal at a local high school here. And we were sitting in the school talking, and this was before kids were back in school.
Yeah.
Beginning of the year, and we were talking, and he was talking about a teacher there that was kind of going crazy. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Yeah, that teachers are teaching on Zoom at home, and they have to be setting up curriculum and grading and things like that, and so they never get to really leave. Plus, we're in a pandemic." And he said that there was a teacher that was kind of losing his mind and asking if he could come to the school and use the gym, and they had a weight room and all that type of stuff there. And so he said, he couldn't allow him to do it because he said, it's against policy and plus the whole COVID shutdown thing. And so he was just, he didn't give me like crazy details, but he told me this teacher was really losing his mind. And so I said, that'd be an interesting concept for a feature film, because we always see in the news about kids going and crazy at schools or shooting up a school or something, wild and crazy. But you never show the other side of it where, teachers are human beings too, and they could lose it too, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to, paint a picture on screen of somebody who, Brian Austin Green's character in this movie is a guy who has some PTSD already, from like a war that he was in, and became a teacher who's going through a pandemic, but he also has a private life that isn't going so well. His wife, left him, and he's got a 4-year-old daughter, and she's kind of got like this restraining order against him type of thing where he can't see his daughter. And so now he's in a pandemic by himself, and he's lost his family, and he's teaching kids on Zoom. And, as you probably have seen, kids that try to learn in class on Zoom don't really pay attention too much. And then they don't think that, as crazy as kids are nowadays, where they're disrespectful for their teachers, they're even more disrespectful on Zoom. And so he ends up overhearing, these breakout classes that he puts them into, where they go on the, little study pod type classes. He overhears a group of kids that are deciding that they're going to break into the high school because it's shut down and have a paintball war at the high school. And during that whole conversation that he overhears it, he hears a lot of really bad stuff that their opinions on him as a teacher. So he decides that he's going to show up at the school and play paintball as well. And it starts off kind of interesting until he decides to lock down the school where they can't get out. And it turns a little bit deadly.
Oh man. All right. That's a riveting story. And when you were mentioning the whole Zoom thing, I actually, I teach music myself, and I did private lessons, but when you're talking about transitioning to Zoom and it's hard for teachers, it very well is true, and especially with kids that weren't able to pick up the concepts in person, and then trying to show them on Zoom and share examples. And it's for the public sector though, which is what this is about, is public school system. I can see the story just on screen really coming together nicely. Do you have a date yet for when this will hit the screens?
We are actually in negotiations right now with distributors, and a few of them are talking about taking it to 5 of the major markets and theaters. So I would say end of March, early April at the latest. That's what everybody's been telling me. So depending on which deal we go with at this point in time, they usually want about 90 days to promote and get the word out and start putting up coming soon posters at the theaters and things like that. So
okay, all right. So we'll be looking out for that.
Mhm.
From the so when you're planning this film, I'm just curious because obviously I'm very interested in these fields myself. I'm just wanting to know, how do you obviously you're an expert at it now, but when you were planning this film from beginning and then going through the phases, how organized do you have to be in the implementation on this? Like, how pivotal is that, as far as getting the project in an orderly fashion?
Doing a film, there's so much involvement in it, especially when you're doing an independent film and it's not a studio picture where I'm not just showing up on set and directing for a salary, and studios are paying for a ton of people. So even though I'm the director on the film, I wear a lot of different hats, from the beginning of creating a story that, that I take to my writing partner, and if he writes out the script and we kind of bounce ideas back and forth. So we have, you start with the story. That's going to be the most important thing. So getting a great script first is the most important thing. And then, figuring out each step after that. We need funding. We need a wish list of who I want to be cast members. And Brian came up on the top of my wish list. And I think it was probably because I saw him in the media on something, had to do either with Dancing with the Stars, not Dancing with Stars yet because he wasn't on yet, but it was, I think it was The Masked Singer.
Oh, I see.
So he was doing some stuff like that, and he's always in the media. And so I saw him, and I was like, hey man, he's older, he's recognizable, he's a great actor, and he might be a great person for this role. So I called my casting agents, threw it out to them, told them, this is the person let's go after right now. And I got a call back a couple days later that said, Brian wants to talk to you. Give him a call on his cell phone. So I knew he was hooked at that point.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So actors don't, they don't want to talk to you if they're not interested at all. So,
I see. So we'll see. Yeah, you'd only know that though because you've been doing it now for a while. So, but that's cool. And then what happened?
and so, I was at the same time, there's so many different things that are going on. So I'm putting together crew, I'm putting together, rest of funding. I'm putting together location stuff, where I want to shoot it at, what my vision is, my storyboards, shot listings, the looks of how I want the film to look. And then I start, when I brought on my DP, Martin Moody, phenomenal DP. We spent a lot of time together, really walking through locations and looking at, everything from parking lots, anything that had to be in the movie. The schools. We walked the halls in the schools so many times, and figuring out camera movements, which way we're going to go with the camera, where the story was going to, almost like drawing a little map. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, we're going to start here, we're going to, end up here in the middle, and we're going to finish here. And how do we, not just in the storyline itself and shooting it, but in a way that was going to make sense to be able to get the crew and the cast and the equipment in the right part of the movie, and be able to stay on schedule and get through the shoot in a timely manner. So going through that, and then really dialing in like camera gear. I went down to LA to Eastside Camera, and they were a big supporter of us, and Martin's worked with them for many years, and they gave me access to every camera they had. So we lined up RE cameras next to each other, and Sony Venice, and all the top cameras, and we did a bunch of lighting and lens tests and things like that to figure out which camera we wanted and what kind of look we wanted out of the lenses and things like that. So we ended up picking this handmade set of lenses that was made over in the UK, and I'd never seen it in a feature film yet. So there's just like one specific guy who's a big cinematographer out there who makes these handmade lenses, and he sells them, but you have to order them, and it takes them about a year to make them. And so,
Wow.
I put those up against some of the biggest like lenses and stuff out there, all RE stuff, Cooks, all the best stuff. And they had a specific look. They're called Clavius lenses, but they had a really specific look to them that we really liked. And so we chose that, and we chose Sony Venice to work on just because of the low light capabilities. And we knew we were going to be shooting in some crazy dark hallways and things like that. So, and then that just kind of, rolled into the next stuff of like lighting and figuring out everything else and the rest of the cast and all that stuff.
What do you do when they tell you it's going to take a year for these lenses to get to your hands?
Oh, so these lenses like were already in the rental house that I was using, but if I had to order them and purchase them, then
I see.
Yeah, it would be. But they already had a set there, and
Okay.
I just had to make sure that I told them like, hey, I want these lenses for this time period to use for this movie. So I lucked out because they, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. I could have used some other lenses that were extremely phenomenal too, but
because the priority, I'm assuming, is the timeline, not the lens type, right? Because
and it just kind of worked out in our favor because we had those options, so we were able to lock in and spend a couple days at the camera, a shop, and really like figure out, okay, this lens looks better in these type of situations, and these lenses react better in low light and certain movements. And these specific lenses they're the only ones that I've ever seen that they actually have certain filters you can put in the back of the lens before you pop them on the camera to give a different distortion type of look and the depth of field in the background. So it gave us a lot of like freedom to really get kind of crazy with Brian's character when he started to lose his mind in this movie, without having to do something in post-production that was really unnatural.
I see.
So,
no, that's awesome. That's really cool to see these technical things, man. And thanks for sharing all that. And it's like I'm just soaking it all in, and I want to know these terms eventually. So when my opportunity comes, I'm not like a fish out of water. But these so this production, what would you say was the hardest point from beginning till now? Like what I mean, the pandemic, I'm assuming, didn't help, but
pandemic was a little crazy, but I I planned to shoot this movie during the pandemic, so I wanted to, create a movie that 99% of it was in one location.
Yeah.
So other than quick shots of one day here, one day there at a store, or other location, majority of that was shot at a school.
Yeah.
So we planned on that. We had to make sure that your crew and your cast and stuff was all really contained together and stayed together, because we had to do testing that was required by SAG and the union to test everybody every 2 to 3 days, and if anybody came up positive with COVID, the whole production shuts down. So we were very adamant about, hey, actors. We had actors that flew from Atlanta and Alabama, and most of them came from LA. But when everybody was here, we said just stick together. I rented a whole hotel for most of the actors and the crew, and then we just made them hang out together. They went to dinner together. They hung out when they weren't on set. But we had grueling hours, man. We were actually shooting from 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. every night.
Yeah.
And then I'd show up on set 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But when the camera started rolling, it was 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. So we got there when the sun was still up at that time, and it was right before summertime. So we got there when the sun was up, and we left when the sun was up. So it was a little crazy.
I remember Brian Carey, because he's one of my good friends. He was doing the photography for that, and he was always posting on his Instagram. He's like, "All right, back at work," and it's like, damn, bro, it's like you're about to go deep into the night.
Yeah.
It was now, how long did it take as far as the scenes, like shooting all the scenes? How long did that portion take?
We shot the movie in 18 days. We did have a hiccup in the beginning from the original school that we were shooting at. We had a problem with the film commissioner in Sacramento, which almost threw a wrench, like a monkey wrench, into our production. And I can say it now, but no, there's it just kind of things popped up, and fortunately, I'm Sacramento homegrown, and I've got a lot of contacts here, and I was in the frantic moment, we were able to make some calls and make some things happen, and we secured the location and got everything done. But it did set us back 4.5, 5 days.
Come on, Commissioner, what are you doing?
Exactly. Supposed to be there to help us.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that your contacts helped out in that. So 18 days. That's now in a regular project like this. What's normally, like with a similar project? How long were you expecting for the filming to take?
Generally, anywhere from 18 to 21 days.
18. Oh, okay, so you still got it done. Yeah. That's cool, man. That's interesting.
Some movies in 16 days too, but I hear people that say they shoot movies in 12 days and stuff like that. I just don't. I'm like, you gotta put time into your film. It's not about just getting through pages. It's about really focusing what's going to be on screen, right? So
right,
you've got the days to do it, you've got the budget to do it, and do it. And I understand if you're, I would shorten the production time based on if lead actor can't be there or something like that. But if you've got them there, take the time to really create something great that's going to be on screen that people are going to watch. Because once it's done, it's done. There's no going back to set and like, hey, I forgot to do this, or this would have been better if I could have lit this a certain way, or you can't do that. So
I think it takes a lot of and give your advice on this. As I'm listening to you explain the process, there's a lot of people you have to contact. There's a lot of people you have to get on board. And the one thing that is fake, but a lot of us, when starting out, we deal with it, is this notion of nerves and fear and trying to, make sure everyone's happy and this and that. Like, at what point did you, or maybe, it's still something you deal with, but at what point do you say, forget the hell with it. They got to do it. If they're here, they got to do it. Like, you don't, you know what I mean? Like, how do you switch hats to that? Because you said you have to wear a lot of hats.
Well, I mean, this isn't my first rodeo, so it's
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess what I'm asking is, at what point did you conquer that, like in your filming career?
Every film that you do is gonna present obstacles and speed bumps. This is part of filmmaking. That's why in Hollywood they say whenever you can finish a film, it's a miracle, right? So
Yeah.
I've done feature films way back when I first started for no budget. And I've done feature films for very low budget, and I've done some with some budgets, and so, and as you start to grow, you still got issues on every film, but I've learned, I shot a movie, Clear Shot. I shot that whole movie in Mexico,
Right.
which is crazy because it was the first time I ever shot a production in Mexico, and we had some issues there where somebody a couple days before shooting stole our whole production vehicle on the way to set, like
No.
carjacked
God,
production
man.
vehicle, so all the equipment was gone, and so we're in a different country trying to figure out how we're going to get equipment to set to make this movie while actors are in Mexico. So it's, I'm just saying that to say that every production has its, obstacles, and it really comes down to you being a leader and figuring out, how to get through these obstacles. And so, on this last movie, that wasn't our only obstacle. We had commission stuff. We had location stuff. We had a lot of little things that happened with certain people on set, and a lot of the actors were coming to me and going, how are you maintaining your cool? Sometimes actors don't like each other, when they're supposed to be like best friends in the movie or love interest or whatever, and then they so everybody has different personalities. You have to be that person that can hold it all together. You got to be that glue in the middle that holds it all together. And so for me, my productions, I take a very hands-on approach to every aspect of it. So I want to be there when it comes to the lighting. I want to be there when it comes to the movement of camera. And, I leave it up to the professionals around me as well. But I want to be able to see what's going on, and even down to post-production, the graphics and the special effects. And, I sat with one of my guys and did all the special effects with him, and sat with the music guys and did the score with them. And, so in the color grading, you know what I mean? So it's, a lot of people will just direct the film and leave it up to other people for those departments. And for me, I found my pictures come out a lot better when, it's my vision. So I can sit there, and not that they would do a bad job at it, but it's my vision. So I want to make sure that it's where I want it to be.
Man. Damn, dude, you got all your stuff stolen. That's crazy. And
and that's not the craziest thing. I mean, there was so much stuff there that happened, but it's, at the end of the day, it's movie making. We're making film, so you got to be able to, step above that and just keep things going. Like being a great producer or a great director is not just saying action and letting actors do their thing. Hopefully at one point in time in my life, I'll be able to get to that where I can show up on set and everybody else is dealing with the BS, right? But in the meantime, when you're doing low budget productions, and when I mean low budget, anything under $7 million is low budget in Hollywood. Right. So for me, doing something that is still independent, not backed by a major studio production, you got to wear all the different hats. So in between, bathroom breaks and different setups, you got to go run and write checks for people, and and give them to people, and send people to get catering and all kinds of different things. So you really just got to manage.
I think you're right, and I think it becomes manageable when you had that vision to begin with, right? And you're like, my vision is this, and I'm going to get to the end of it, no matter what comes. I mean, that's powerful. When you have that, and and there's really nothing that can get in your way, including stolen equipment or
Yeah.
hijacking
And
or
really
pandemic.
focus on your vision too, because there's times when we're on set and I'll see things that I want in my movie that weren't in the script. And I'll say, there you'll see it in this movie with Pacerville. There's these freak out moments that Brian has that are phenomenal that I think really are the icing on top of the movie, but they weren't in the script. And but sitting there inside these hallways inside a high school that just look so crazy, and I would watch him standing there. I said, it would be great to have these things. And that's why I say be involved in every process, because the more you're involved in post-production and music and editing and color grading and all that stuff, then the next production you're on, you'll go, okay, like I could see how this is going to play out in the edit room and what would be great after this scene or what would go great with this scene. And so for me, I would pull Brian aside and say, I need you to do this. And my DP and other crew members would go, why are we doing this? This isn't on the schedule. And I said, just trust me, like it'll take 5 minutes. Just do this. I just need this. And and it shows on screen later. So you got to make sure that you take the time as a filmmaker to get what you want, because it's your vision.
No, it's so true, man. That is all great information on this film, and your experience in general, making films. I had Lance on a couple weeks ago, and I know you worked on Undeniable as well. How did that?
Number one independent.
Yeah.
This is the number one independent stand-up on Amazon right now, right? So he's great, man. Lance was actually in my first film in Mexico,
the Clear Shot movie. Yeah, I saw it in the preview. Yeah.
It's actually Lance XL, because Lance was like 60 pounds heavier. He wasn't all in shape like he is now.
I know. But, he's hooping now, so he's losing the weight.
He took it serious, man. I give it up to him. That's my boy, and we connected on a celebrity golf thing like years ago, right before I did a Clear Shot, maybe 6 months beforehand, and he started talking about him being a comedian. I had never seen him before, but I thought he was kind of funny talking to him out on the fairway and stuff, and then I said, man, I should put you in a movie sometime. And he was like, man, everybody says that stuff. They don't do it. And I called him. I said, man, you ready to go to Mexico? And so we got a movie.
There you go.
Just roll. So, and he killed it. He came out to Mexico. We had a great time. He filmed. He killed it. And we've just been really good friends ever since. And so when when his comedy special came up, he was like, man, I need you to shoot this special and direct it and stuff like that. And, Lance is funny as shit. So
he's hilarious, man. His special was hilarious too, and my wife was laughing her ass off, and she usually doesn't even care for stand up, and she was laughing. So I was like, that's how you know.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Nick, I appreciate you coming on. Go ahead and plug away whatever you want to share with the audience.
Man, I'm everywhere as Nick Leisure, whether I'm usually only on Instagram. I don't do the Twitters and Facebook and all that stuff too much. This is too much time consuming, But for me, I try to stay on Instagram, as much as I possibly can in between working and stuff. And, just keep an eye out for movies that are coming. We got Pacerville will be out, March, April of this coming year. So a few months away, but keep an eye out for that. We'll probably do a big Hollywood premiere. I may do one in Sacramento too. Not sure yet.
So let me know. I want to go.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sure. You heard that, ladies and gentlemen. The incredible Nick Leisure. Check him out on Instagram. You can follow me, Pej the Maniac, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all the other social medias that Nick isn't on.
I need to do my social media because I don't have all that Twitter, TikTok, what is it, swipe left, swipe right. whatever else you're on, you know what I mean?
I'm done swiping, man. I can't swipe anymore. My wife won't let me. No, yeah, it's funny though, because every social media account I open up, I'm like, all right, let me get with the program, and then there's like 3 more things that are now available to jump onto. So it's even Cameo is a thing now where celebrities get paid to get on.
Yeah.
So, but hey, yeah. So follow Nick Leisure on Instagram. Follow Pejamaniac on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, the Meta or Facebook. Follow Phumblepodcast on all the same social media outlets, and of course my YouTube channel, Phumblepodcast. That this episode will be out right now because you're watching it, but I appreciate you coming on, Nick, and
yeah, man, anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been episode 39. I will catch you guys on the next episode.